Now, the one question I have for the Mets is, who is going to stand up and say, I'm the leader in this team, and this is what we should do?
What's going on, guys? Welcome to New York Minute Sports. New York sports for New York nuts. We got Pedro Martinez talking about the Mets collapse and that they might not even make the playoffs with Juan Soto on their team. And Pedro's asking the same thing I'm asking, folks. Where's the leadership?
I agree with some of those stuff. I think the Mets are just one big moment from making a turnaround. They saw it last year, but you have to also look at yourself in the mirror and kind of ask yourself, where's our leadership? Why was I with the team, even though I was in a sling? Because I felt like the team needed, some of the leaders around them.
Talk about two guys that New York absolutely hates. They're right on the screen right now. And by the way, I am not a huge fan of Pedro Martinez, but he's right on the money. Where is the leadership on the New York Mets? And is Juan Soto to blame for the New York Mets season? Juan Soto's never been the leader on his own team. Even with the Nationals, he had Anthony Rendon. With the Padres, he had Manny Machado. On the Yankees, he had Aaron Judge. And now this year, with making $800 million, Juan Soto, by default, is the leader and the guy on the New York Mets. But guess what? That's why he's Juan Solo. That's why Juan Soto, 27 of his home runs are solo home runs. That's why a lot of his numbers came in extra time, came in with a 7-run lead or in garbage time.
Just sit out there, see your lead go away. So much work. 156 games. It's an entire season almost. And you haven't really find a way to figure something that you need to do in the last 15, 20 days.
And that's why everyone was scratching their head why he left Aaron Judge in the New York Yankees last year. And I don't think it was to be the number one guy or the franchise player of a team. I think it was a luxury box for his family that the Yankees wouldn't give him. And it was the difference between $5 million. So you really see who people are when money's on the table, whether it's about baseball or whether it's really about the bottom line. I got no problem with Juan Soto taking more money, $800 million to go to the Mets. But when you pay a guy that much money, you expect him to lead. You expect him to have not empty calorie stats, and you expect to make the playoffs with a $300 million.
They needed to see leadership. Now, the one question I have for the Mets is, who is going to stand up and say, I'm the leader in this team, and this is what we should do to make things happen? Because
for payroll,
everything starts with leadership. And I think they need to look at themselves in the mirror and kind of figure out what they need to do. They have enough experience, enough players, enough talent to go out there and figure something out to beat up the little teams like the Nationals.
And it's funny just looking at last week when we had them on, we had on Monday, well, we didn't have them on Monday, but Monday, Pete Alonso hit the walk-off, which stopped the losing streak. And we're like, okay, that was that big moment. He talked about a big moment. The next night, Lindor and the guys go off. His wife plays the violin. It's like, okay, things are starting to heat up. So in our mind, the Mets are back on track enough to at least get in that playoff spot. And then what happens? Like, what happens? We're not in that clubhouse. We don't know, but Pedro's right. Who's going to be in our mind? The Mets are back on track enough to at least get in that playoff spot. And then what happens? Like, what happens? We're not.
We can turn it.
This is one of the largest collapses in Mets franchise history. We're talking Willie Randolph collapses 2 years in a row. Okay, guys, this is going to be one of the biggest disasters in New York sports history. It's going to rival the Brooklyn Nets disaster of the Big Three. They have a $300 million payroll. $300 million. It seems like the Mets are allergic to making back-to-back playoff appearances because they've only done it 3 times in all of their franchise's history. So the Mets went after Juan Soto in the offseason, and now I'm asking you, let me know in the comments below. Are the Mets worse with Juan Soto on their team? And are the Yankees better with Juan Soto off their team?
It's an entire season almost. And you haven't really find a way to figure something that you need to do in the last 15, 20 days. Everything starts with leadership. And I think they need to look at themselves in the mirror and kind of figure out what they need to do. They have enough experience, enough players, enough.
Yeah, but leadership comes from the front office, and I put this on Stearns not giving the New York Mets adequate starting pitching this year by taking reclamation projects like Clay Holmes for $11 million off the New York Yankees, or taking Canning from the Anaheim Angels and expecting them to last all season is almost malfeasance. Now, when you look at the manager, the same guy that took you to Game 6 of the NLCS last year, now he's on the hot seat because you know guys like Juan Soto aren't going anywhere because he's on your team for 15 years.
Enough talent. Yourself 4 days ago in the middle of everything, and all of a sudden you see yourself out there. You need to check yourself. And also, it's all mental. At this time of the year, you're not going to get in better physical shape. You're not going to do anything bigger than you have done the entire season.
Right.
You have already put the numbers. Now what you need to do is mentally stay in the game for the 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 38.
Well, it does look like the Mets are sleepwalking to the end of the season, and I'm going to be covering it right here on New York Minute Sports, guys. Let me know in the comments below, who is to blame for the Mets' downfall this year? Is it the GM, head coach, or is it on your $800 million man, Juan Soto? Because it seems like every team he leaves, they get better, folks. He left the Padres, they got better. He left the Yankees, they got better. And just remember what Juan Soto said while he was leaving the New York Yankees. He thought the Mets had a brighter future and a better farm system. Well, the Baby Bombers 2.0 are in first place in the AL East with 5 games to go, and the New York Mets are on the outside looking in with a $800 million albatross for the next 15 years. Now remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. See you next time, New York Minute. Bye.